There's a reason Ukraine is nicknamed the breadbasket of Europe. The country produces about 10% of the entire world's wheat, 14% of the world's corn, and half of its sunflower oil. And as Jacob Soboroff found in western Ukraine, all of that is now under threat because of the Russian invasion.
As soon as we got outside Lviv city center, the landscape looked familiar, like the American heartland. But there was one key difference.
You see checkpoints like this everywhere you go in this country, and if you thought people might feel more relaxed or comfortable in a rural community, you're wrong. All we got around here is farms everywhere you look.
Not far away, we were greeted by family farm owners Zinovy Maximoshin and his daughter Maria Samolyenko. Their 21,000-acre farm is considered medium-sized for Ukraine. 10 days ago, Ukrainian President Zelensky encouraged farmers not to flee, to carry on with their work amid the war, saying, it's about our victory.
You consider the men who drive the trucks like this as important as the soldiers on the front lines?
That's true, Zinovy says. This is our battlefield. We have to make sure our country and other countries have something to eat. Ukraine owes its agricultural productivity to its soil, and it has a name of its own.
I've never heard the term chernozem before.
This is very nutritious soil, he says. It's what makes Ukraine the world's largest exporter of sunflower oil, and among the top 10 exporters of grain and corn.
Oh, it's nice.
All of a sudden, what seems like a sanctuary from the war, invaded by a sound in the sky.
Hey, keep looking. Listen. Is that a fighter jet?
It's most likely a military plane, he tells me, unsure if it's Ukrainian or Russian.
When you hear a plane like that, what do you think?
I'm anxious, says Zinovy, but we have to do our work. Back on the farm, in front of a pile of soybeans they plan to export to Europe, it's clear why.
Russia is already hitting warehouses that are storage for food in Kyiv. We've already seen it. Could something like this be a target as well?
We can expect anything from these people, he says.
You have a 3-year-old son. It's his grandchild.
Yes.
What will you tell your son about the war?
I just pray to God for my son not to see the explosions, not to see what the war looks like, Maria says. Her father wanted to say something too. I want my grandchild, when he grows up, to be proud of how we handled the situation, that we stayed here and worked really hard for the victory.
That was Jacob Soboroff reporting, and he now joins me live tonight from the city of Lviv in western Ukraine. Jacob, that was a great package. I guess the first question is, how much of the breadbasket area, when we talk about the heartland, is in the parts of the country that are, at the front lines, and how much of it is in the western part of the country, which is, at least as of now, a bit removed from the worst fighting?
Yeah, it's a good question. Agriculture is spread, Chris, actually all throughout this country because the topography, the climate makes this country suitable to growing agriculture in almost every part of it. So that's part of the issue here. The exports from the Black Sea are, for all intents and purposes, cut off, and those exports come from virtually every area of the country, which makes this, you said it, a hurricane of hunger so likely given the circumstances here.
Yeah, so there's obviously there are places where fighting is not happening, where you're not going to be able to plant. But there are places like the farmer that you spoke to who is planning on planting, and planting season's happening right around now. Then there's a question of, can they get those goods to market? Can they get them exported in international markets? Like, is that stuff on the back end all operating enough to make sure that wheat can get out?
No. No. So basically, this food crisis is already in process, in progress. It's a slow motion disaster that is already underway. And not, by the way, just because of the limitations on exports, Vladimir Putin is making it a deliberate strategy to target the food supply himself. There was that food storage warehouse in Kyiv that was attacked just a couple of days ago. So on top of issues with only certain farmers being able to actually produce and export, and those exports being limited to leaving through Europe, leaving through the West and not through the sea, the Russians are actually trying to decimate food storage, not just food storage, but food markets all over this country.
Yeah, and there's also, from the New York Times reporting, the Ukraine's agricultural minister begging allies for 1,900 rail cars of fuel, saying the country's farms have run out of supplies and were diverted to the military. So you have this, obviously, a society that's under constant strain and stress with the war, desperately trying to go on with business as usual, as the farming family you covered is. But again, the inputs that go into farming are complex and probably not very easy to acquire right now.
There are only so many options to get these products to market. And the bottom line is, while this country is at war, there will be a limited supply of Ukrainian agriculture getting out to the world. North Africa, Europe, Asia all depend incredibly on Ukrainian agriculture. You mentioned the sunflower oil, the wheat, all the grain that comes from here. And so what's going to happen is there will be not only potential famine in those parts of the world, but also additional pressure on us, the United States, to produce and export throughout the world. So that's going to affect both on the hunger level, people throughout the world, but also the prices for pretty much all of us across the planet.
Yeah, I want to follow up on what the U.S. can do to increase grain production this season, which is going to be an important part of this puzzle. Jacob Soboroff, great reporting live in Lviv. Thank you, sir.